Welcome everybody to day 5 of the 5-day digital event. And obviously I am not here by myself. We are in my dining room and we felt that it was only appropriate to do it in front of the painting, which I now feel is sort of famous. We were going to do it over there on that side and I was like, no, it has to be in front of the painting. So thanks everybody for joining this week. It's been such a fun week for me and for my team, and just the comments and the questions that we've been getting have been amazing. And today I wanted to end the digital event, the 2020 game plan, a little bit differently. I've actually never really done this before, outside of, I think, the Wellness Business Summit, which is in person and not live streamed. So this was new for me. So let's all just give a little intention to Zoom and Facebook for just a second and just say the live stream will be fine. We're going to ask for what we want. The live stream will be okay for the duration. And that's how we're going to roll. So thanks so much for tuning in. All of these ladies will introduce themselves. They came from near and far, some for their first time in Canada, which is amazing. And so we have a lot to share. We were chatting a little bit before just about all of our experiences and all of our learning lessons, and they're super pumped to share it with you. What I would like to do before we do that is, can you tell me in the comments if you can hear me okay? I know you can see me because we have someone monitoring that, but I just want to make sure that we're good. Okay, I'm getting a thumbs up over there, that we are good. So let's dive in, shall we? And also, if at any point you guys have questions or comments, please put it in the comments and we'll give our very special guest today the feedback, because it's always nice to have people cheer you on and say, yeah, congratulations, and you're awesome, and share more about that, or I love your lipstick, or whatever. Whatever. I like your blazer. Is that even is that a blazer? I don't know. Jacket, blazer, I don't know. This should be very interactive. So thank you for tuning in. We probably will go a little bit longer than an hour today. So, just sit tight, go grab a drink, and let's get started. So we're going to go around and the ladies are just going to introduce themselves. So we'll start with you. Go for it. Name.
Okay, just introduce yourself.
Yeah.
You don't want the whole, my whole
not
backstory.
yet. Just
I'm ready, ladies. I'm Lori DePietro Standen. I'm a plant-based nutritionist, and I am from Ohio.
Amazing. Miranda?
Hi, I'm Miranda Carvel. I'm a registered holistic nutritionist out of Ottawa, Ontario, and business mentor for other practitioners.
My name is Melissa Bufunos. I'm also a certified holistic nutritionist. I live just north of Ottawa, so pretty close to Miranda, and I work with obstacle course race athletes and help them unlock their full potential.
Amazing. Alicia?
Hi, I'm Alicia McPherson. I'm a naturopathic doctor. I live in Newmarket in Canada, and it's cold here. I have 4 dogs and a cat, which I feel is very important for everyone to know.
I'm Hannah Fries. I am a registered dietitian from the States, and this was my first time in Canada.
Yay!
Fantastic so far, and I help menopausal women lose weight.
Amazing. And Victoria?
I am Victoria Jones. I'm from Thunder Bay, Alberta, Ontario. I'm originally from Alberta, but we're living in Ontario right now, so I'm from Thunder Bay. I am a
It's okay, they don't even know where Thunder Bay is. It's totally
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Right, it's okay.
I am a registered holistic nutritionist, and I help women lose weight and overcome emotional eating.
Amazing. So the reason that I asked these practitioners and coaches to join me today is because they all are current clients and or past clients of the 10K Success System. And one of the questions that I get, that my team gets all the time, that you've probably asked yourself is, can I really make this work? What does that even look like? If I am already making it work, how do I make it work better? How do I make it work bigger? How do I grow? And I know for myself, when I was starting, I never got to see examples of what was possible that I could actually relate to. A lot of the examples of possibility that I saw were men. And, you know, that's all well and good. But it's, you know, not the same as being able to see examples of females who have the same sort of lifestyle as me, who are in the same and or similar season of life as me, who are at various stages in their careers. And so what I really wanted to do was, you know, show you examples of possibility, because you can't model what you don't see. And as I said on day one, you know, what the majority of what we all see online are people who have, you know, who are years in, and, you know, massive social media followings. And it's not really painting the picture of success at different levels. And it's not really painting the picture of day in and day out growth. That's not to say that there aren't unicorns, but the reality is that it is that sort of day in and day out. I don't want to use the word grind, but I'm going to. Grind, hustle, motivation, fun. Like, you know, Hannah was like, they don't know how fun sales is. I was like, say that when we go live. You know, but that's the truth. And so that's the intention of having them here, because they all had experience, whether they just started their business or they had a business and then came to, you know, become a client in the 10K success system. I really wanted to show you day in and day out success, and give you possibility and show you what it looks like at various levels, so that you can say, okay, well, you know, she's just like me. If she can do it, I can do it. Because, you know, we all came here, like, they're at my house, they're at, like, you know, we're all just normal people. Like, we're all just normal people, right?
Except Lori.
We're all very much just normal people. And that's really the intention today. So again, if you have questions, ask them. If you have a comment, post it. We're going to get to Q&A at the end. So we're going to kick it off. I thought it would be a great place to start, is if they could just share their backstory, like why they got into health in the first place, and you know, what really motivated them to turn their passion into a career. So Melissa, why don't we kick it off with you?
Sure. So I've been an athlete my entire life. I was always into health and fitness. I remember being like 12 years old and asking for like dumbbells at Christmas. And my parents were like, what? Like, what kind of message is that sending a girl if we get her weights when she's 12 years old?
Oh,
and like, that's all I wanted. And I was so upset that they wouldn't let me like pursue that. And then I became the person who, you know, read the labels on food and was interested in health and wellness. But my parents were like, you're a straight A student. You're too smart to just be a personal trainer or a nutritionist. You're never going to make anything out of yourself. Like, that's not a career. And so I went to school for journalism, went a totally different path. And then my stepdad passed away, and my mom was like, you know, I can see that you haven't followed journalism. It's not your passion. You're still passionate about health and wellness. I apologize. We never should have pushed you in the direction you didn't want to go to. Here's some money. Go back to school to become a nutritionist. And so that's what I did. And now I'm making a career out of it and making way more money than my parents do. So, you know, it works.
Amazing. Amazing. And Lori, what about you?
My story is a little different.
The condensed version.
The condensed version. I grew up in a really violent environment, and I grew up with a really unhealthy relationship with food. I was hospitalized for an eating disorder in my teens. And so I didn't grow up being health and wellness minded. I grew up like a lot of women grow up thinking that you've got to be skinny and that's what you have to pursue. I actually also, because I grew up in a violent home, like happens with many women, I ended up marrying an abuser. And I immediately realized what I had done. I didn't want to live that way. I didn't want my children to live that way. And I had to pursue back in 1995 that I was one of the first women in the United States to get a full civil protection order against my husband because he was stalking me. So I've had a lot of challenges, and I've had a lot of ways in which I was feeling really unempowered and really unhealthy, both physically and mentally. And so that's been my process, is to really grow and to, I always just wanted to get better. So in my 30s, I was 60 pounds overweight, and I had high cholesterol, 285. My triglycerides were out of control. I had massive inflammation in my body. And my grandmother, who was the only person in my family that I was really close to, died of Alzheimer's and heart disease. And that was just rock bottom for me. And I realized that I looked around, other women were in my same position. We have lots of different stories, but we feel unempowered. We feel like we can't take charge of our health. And we feel like there's no real answer. We feel like we're in a pit that we can't get out of. And so that has been my passion, to help women get empowered. The first step for me in getting empowered was adopting a plant-based diet. And that was just the beginning of everything for me. It was like a domino effect in the rest of my life. And so now I teach women to get that same kind of empowerment by taking control of their nutrition first.
Amazing. Amazing. Hannah?
Yeah, so my journey started when I was about...
Can you speak up in the back row?
Yeah. My journey started when I was actually 14, and I was actually diagnosed with Crohn's disease. So this was, part of my story, but that really only introduced me to the power of food, because I knew when I ate this, I felt better, and when I ate this, I didn't. So I knew I wanted to do something in that realm because it mattered to me, and because I was already thinking about it all the time anyway. So I kind of fell into it, actually, at college. And what really got me into, away from the clinic. So most registered dietitians are in clinics and in hospital work and things like that. And I did that. And it paid the bills and it was great. But it actually wasn't that great. And so actually, it was a little soul crushing. At the end of the day, my husband is also in healthcare, and we were having these discussions about really trying to help people and the red tape and the type of healthcare and how the system works. And I'm in a position where I got to choose going forward, like, well, what kind of impact do I want to have? How do I want to use my skill set? And it wasn't in the traditional clinics and things where people thought RDs had to be. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to be, just more intentional with it. And that's when I knew that I had to figure out something, because not a lot of RDs are not in the clinics or in long-term care or in community health. And so there wasn't a lot of resources for RDs who want to do anything else but that.
Right. Totally. Miranda?
I think, like a lot of us in healthcare, I have my own personal health story that brought me to going back to school to study nutrition. So about 12 years ago, when I was 34, I became completely disabled, and I had 4 kids and a baby, and my whole life completely changed in a way I never expected. And after spending a lot of time being shuttled from doctor to doctor, and nobody could figure out what was wrong with me, and in the meantime, I couldn't drive a car, walk up a flight of stairs, really be left alone, I started taking some of my power back to do my own research and went back to school for nutrition. And I still remember, like, the first book, UCSNNers, the book I'm talking about, right at the beginning. So like, yeah. Like I started finding answers like in like the first couple of chapters. And so I graduated from CSNN and I started building my business online. I had a background in online communities and I had a pretty strong business background. I had run really big budget businesses. I had been a corporate trainer in sales and operations. And so in the meantime, as I was building my business, I was spending time talking with other practitioners. And I remember I had made this little Facebook group for like me and some people I went to my program with so that we would have a little space to talk about business, because there's not really like a lot of business support for a lot of us, right? And I kind of blinked and there was 500 people in there. So when they say you should do that thing that you can't stop talking about, that I made a pivot in my business about 1.5 years ago after doing one-off workshops and teaching professional practice at the nutrition school and things like that, to create a program to help support other practitioners in their business as well. Mm-hmm. So that's what I do full-time now.
Amazing. And Victoria?
Yeah, so I never knew what I wanted to do when I, grew up. Everyone would always ask me what I wanted to do. And it was really important for me to be able to serve people. And so right after I graduated high school, I traveled, I taught English, I volunteered in Ukraine, in China, in Korea. I kind of just spent all the money that I had volunteering, and then finally I came home and was like, all right, I need to have a stable income. I need to be able to have some form of a job. So I decided to go to school for accounting, and I got a job in an accounting firm, and I hated it, and I hated the 9 to 5, like trading your time for money. And so right after I got married, my husband was like, okay, well, what is it that you're passionate about? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I've always loved food. Like, that sounds great. And so my sister-in-law introduced me to the CSNN, and I decided to go become a registered holistic nutritionist. At the time, though, I had no idea what the word holistic meant. I didn't know. I had no idea what kombucha was, or green smoothies, or kefir, or anything. So, like, my mind was blown when I went to school. And every day I was like, this needs to be shared with the world. Like, why don't they teach this in school? You know, like I was like, you're supposed to chew your food 30 times. Not that I do that now, but like, you learn these revolutionary things in school, and I wanted to chew it.
Revolutionary.
Really? So I guess my passion now, like from wanting to serve people and help people, that's where the root of my business came from. And that's why I wanted to, you know, not work for somebody else and start running my own business and building my own supportive community for women.
Love it. And Alicia?
Yeah, so first of all, I'm an educational junkie and a complete rebel. So everything I do tends to be against what everyone else is doing. So I went to school for kin, 4 years there, and then was supposed to go to medical school, switched gears, went naturopathic medical school, which nobody knows about. No family, like no one got it. And so spent 4 years there at the time doing CrossFit coaching and personal training, and then learning I can't work for anybody else because I'm a terrible employee. So that's what, you know, got me to where I'm today, creating my own protocol, my own program, continuing to learn, continuing to go back to school, and just, helping people change lives.
Amazing. And so when was the moment that you guys realized, because if you're anything like me, like I went to school because I had candida, and I went to go see a naturopath, and she put me on a candida protocol when I was 19 and like cleared all of my symptoms. And even at that point, I didn't know that you could, like, it didn't occur to me that I could also do that. And so I was in university doing my Bachelor of Arts in, I don't even know, something
important, obviously.
Applied Human Sciences, which, whatever. I'm sure had some relevance. I don't know. And it really wasn't until I was done that, had traveled around the world, went to go work in a gym to like help them set up their fitness facility as a trainer and all of that stuff, that I realized like, oh, I'm like healed. I should go back to school, and can I do this, and can I learn nutrition? But I didn't realize until I actually graduated and started in the clinic that I had to run a business. Like it was not at all, which sounds ridiculous because it's like you're going to be a nutritionist. Yeah, I was going to be a nutritionist, but not a business owner. Right. And so I really, truly had no frame of reference at all for turning it into a career. So I'm curious about you guys, like, when did you know that? So I think there's a difference between, you know, pursuing it because you're interested in it and passionate and whatever, and being like, oh, I now need to put the business hat on and go and figure this out. So do you guys remember, you know, that moment where, I think it's different too, maybe when like you go to school to be an ND, you need to, you know, or like an RD, like, you know, you're going into the workforce kind of thing. But I didn't have that experience. So I'm just wondering from you guys, like, when the moment was that you realized like, oh, this is a business, and now I have a business, and what am I supposed to do with that? So do you want to share? You just smiled when I said that.
Well, because I didn't figure it out until I was already like halfway through 10K. So. I'm like thinking what everybody else is going to say, and then I'm like, oh crap.
Which also is hilarious because you've been doing it for years.
Right. So
That's
that is
so funny.
Hilarious.
Well,
because I really felt like I was already on it. And here's the moment. is when I had just started. I'm mostly on Facebook, and so I just started an Instagram presence. And you said something like, "Please don't put #BossBabe on your stuff." And I was insulted because I had been putting #BossBabe, and I was like, "Wait, I'm a boss babe." And then what you said was like, it's not that actual term. It's the fact that once you're a business owner, that's not how it feels. You're a CEO. And you have responsibilities, and I wasn't there yet, so I didn't get it. And so once I started making a certain income and my business actually started growing, then I was like, wait a minute, you're right, I'm not a boss babe.
Yeah.
I'm a CEO.
Just a tad demeaning.
Right. And so that was it for me.
Yeah, amazing. And Victoria?
Yeah, so I graduated school thinking, okay, we have all these options. You know, when you first sign up for school, they give you like a list of 20 places you can go and find work. And I was like, okay, like wellness centers, work for a chiropractor, a naturopath. But like when you go to search Indeed.com, nothing pops up. Actually, one job popped up, and it was at a Fit Body boot camp. And it was taking clients like every 30 minutes back to back. And I got out of school being like, how in the world can I fill out an NSP form in 30 minutes and then give you...
Do you want to know something funny? I wrote all the meal plans for Fit Body Boot Camp.
Yeah. Well, there you
Like
go.
back in the day.
Yeah. So I did that, and I thought, I have no idea what I'm doing here. This is not what I imagined. This isn't what I was trained for. Like, I don't have any knowledge in how to actually work with clients. And so at that point, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do a weight loss program really quick. This was like an idea at the point, and I put it out on Facebook, and I said, okay, I'm going to do a 6-week program. Who's in? This is my friends and family. And I got 17 people to register and pay before I created the program. I was like, oh, okay, we can do something with this. And that was the start of it. So that was my turning moment, is when I realized there's a need for this. People want this, and you can do it.
Alicia, what about you?
Yeah, so usually NDs graduate and they go work in a clinic. And when I was a CrossFit coach, I got burnt like 3 times really bad by, think of like alpha men who aren't nice, I'm going to say. So got burnt and decided then that like I was going to make my own money. And before I quit that job, I put together my program. I started going on social media and launching it. And this gym got so mad at me for kind of like stepping outside and doing things on my own. And that was the moment I quit that day and said, my terms, like this will be mine, my impact. And I just said no more, not working for anyone in that setting.
And did you ever go in a clinic? Like, did you ever do that?
For a hot minute, like that lasted a few months, very on my own terms, another female gym owner, practitioner.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was there for maybe 5 or 6 months, and then it was like no more of that.
Yeah. Hannah, what about you?
Okay, so when you go into a registered dietitian position in food service, which is what I did half clinical and half food service, you get a lot of training actually on numbers and business and things. So I was very aware that things needed to make numbers sense. And so I was pretty intimidated about going out on my own because it needed to work. It couldn't just be the hobby. And I didn't want to be at parties with my husband and all of my lawyer friends. And, you know, if they've got professional friends and being like, oh, how's your nutrition thing? How's the hobby going? And that was just, I was afraid of actually going out on my own and losing status in that way. And having, instead of, you know, wearing the coat and doing the things and actually just focusing on one weight loss thing, it was so different. And so, I knew it would become a business. I knew I could do it when I started hearing you and talking about the systems. So once I was like, there is a business model behind this, you gave a talk like this or whatever, and I recorded it and I screenshotted like little clouds of a business model that you had made of these images and then blew them up. And I was just like, yeah, okay. Okay. And I mean, it's taken time. I guess, you know, when you understand like the system below, the foundation below is sturdy, then you kind of have a little bit more bravery and courage to go, okay, yes.
And the best thing is every time I would do a coaching call in 10K and we would talk about numbers, Hannah's face was like, yeah, more. And I was like, okay, one person, like, yes, you get it. Okay. Like, always. And I was like, you guys know what I'm doing right now. She's like, you're pitching to us. I know. More. I love it. And it would be amazing. But like, that's, you know, for you to recognize that and like understand what it is so that you could then model it.
Yeah.
Is the whole point, right? It's the whole point. Melissa, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I went into school fully intending to be like my own boss because I already knew from like personal training and being in a gym environment, like how shitty the pay difference, like the gym would take their cut and you'd get like $10 an hour for like seeing a client. I had no interest in that. And so I went into school fully intending to be my own business owner, just like Alicia, like didn't like working for other people either. But I was super disappointed in the business class, like create a resume. I'm like, I don't want to write a resume because I don't want to give it to anybody. Like I am the boss. So I actually, like, as soon as I graduated, I don't even know how I heard about Lori, but heard about her and literally joined the WBA like 2 weeks after graduating and have been my own business from the minute I got my certification. So for me, I was always a like CEO, business owner, not boss babe thing. So
No, you would not use that hashtag.
I think I actually have. But I think I did only because it was like cool and what other people were, not because that's what I felt. Like the word makes me want to vomit, but I'm like, everyone else is doing it.
Right. Totally. Okay, so let's talk about what the beginning of the journey is, because we have clients in 10K now, and I know I've been there. I've been a part of all of your journeys and I've seen it. And I know that there's people, you know, in the Take Your Health Practice Online Facebook group and in our communities who have these expectations, who, you know, because of the way that we are all marketed to on the good old internet, thank you Facebook ads and Instagram ads and social media, you know, I said this in day one of the 5-day digital event, like the people that are marketing to us are marketing from where they currently are. And there's a massive gap between, you know, the don't have to hustle anymore because you've built it and now you have a team and you're 7 years in or you're a decade in. Also too, I would just like to note, and it's funny because I was watching like Natalie Hudson and I was watching Hillary Rushford's Insta stories, which if you don't know who they are, it's fine, but they're years in. They're like, worked 17 hours yesterday, like still, right? Like we just made a massive upgrade to the 10K success system. And I'm like, yo, I've been pulling like 16-hour days for a month straight because sometimes you have to, right? Because when you're the boss and the buck stops with you, sometimes you have to. It's not always like that, you know, but sometimes it is. And so I would love for you guys to maybe share, you know, some of your experiences of maybe when you realize like, oh, this is how it really is and I'm not doing it wrong or I'm not crazy, like versus, you know, when you bump up against the smoke and mirrors of the way that the internet projects what it's really like. And then you come into my world and I'm like, nope, you're good. Like, this is how it really is. Let me burst that bubble for you. Like, this is how it is kind of thing. And then hopefully it makes you feel less crazy. And hopefully it makes you feel like you're not doing it wrong. Right. So Melissa, what about you? Cause I remember back in the day, we'll go to the weight loss niche. Right. And even what you just said, like you just, you know, said like, I probably did use it because I thought everybody else was doing it. And I think that comes down to also is not really understanding the business of your business when you sort of have to follow the tactics and the strategies of what everybody else is doing because you genuinely don't understand what you're doing, right? Choosing the wrong niche, for example.
Totally.
Right? Do you want to share that?
Yeah. I mean, well, when I graduated as a holistic nutritionist, they kind of make you feel like you can help every single person and should help every single person and everything should be individualized. So when I first put myself out there, I got like the cute little logo with purple and blue and green. And like, it had a little leaf in it because like everyone else that was holistic had leaves in their logo. And so that's what I did. And I was just like, anyone who wanted to work with me. And the way I branded stuff, because I was buying done for you programs online instead of creating my own stuff, all of that stuff targeted weight loss. And so most of the clients I was getting were like women in weight loss, and some of them would have athletic backgrounds, but like that was their past and now they're struggling with weight. And okay, I made money, but like they drove me crazy. And there's nothing against people who want to work with that audience. And I know Victoria does. And we had that conversation. We had that conversation this morning, and she's like, pass them all over to me if you want. But it was driving me crazy. And like, I just didn't have that, like, I'm empathetic, but not in that way, I guess. And I just wanted to work with athletes. And Lori's like, so work with athletes? Like, duh. And it was like this just light bulb, I guess, for me of like, sports are my passion. I only want to work with athletes. But I was, again, afraid to like really niche down because I didn't know athletes, or those weren't the people contacting me. And I didn't want to push away people. And like, who turns away money and a client, you know, when you're first starting and don't have money and a client? But as soon as I niched down and turned away the people I didn't want to work with, one, my life got so much better. But every year I've like doubled my income just from niching down. So it was a huge turning point for me.
Mm-hmm. Laura, you sort of have something similar. I remember when you started to work with us, you know, you were sort of like underground, this like plant-based coach, and you're like, do I tell people that I'm plant-based? Yeah, like, isn't that what your whole thing's about? And you're like, but nobody knows, right?
So I've been doing this actually for 15 years. And back when I started, you did not talk about that, like, because people didn't really know what it was, and they had a whole connotation about what it was. And so I developed this healthy program, but I didn't market it as plant-based. Like, once, you know, I didn't hide the fact that it was plant-based, but I wasn't marketing it that way. And so I was 2 or 3 months into 10K before I emailed you and said, hey, by the way, I'm plant-based. And you were like, yeah, so you need to get that out there. So I had been doing it one way for so long. And also once I did, I mean, obviously that, just like what you were saying, that has been like revolutionary for me, is to be also more authentically myself and get my authentic message out there. That's what I believe in. But also when you're saying like just getting real with it, I had, everybody still does, but horrible imposter syndrome. Like, as you grow, like one thing that we don't talk about out in the real world that we talked about a ton in 10K, which I appreciated so much, was like, I'm freaking out. I cried for 2 hours last night. This is really hard. I suck. No one's going to believe what like all it. And Lori's like, totally normal. You're going to be fine.
You're fine. You're right on point for where you are.
That's right. That's exactly perfect. Good job. I'm like, wait, what? So, but that made me feel so much better to know that that's not just me, that everybody struggles with that. And then you do get through it and you get stronger as you go.
Yeah. And it's, you know, we laugh about it a lot, and we still see it. You know, we were having a conversation this morning about, there was a post in 10K, and I was like, well, just start giving resources. Like, here's a podcast, here's a this, here's a that, because it's like, I wish I could say that would never happen again to you, except it does.
Like yesterday.
Right. Like, it does. And I think, you know, part of that is because being a business owner and like having the buck stop with you and having that responsibility, it's not for the average bear. Like, it's not a typical thing. And when you're in it, and when you're in it to win it, it does feel isolating and alone, like nobody else sort of gets it. And it does feel, although totally self-imposed, like a burden and a responsibility, right? Mm-hmm. At the same time, like it's a dual, we all live in the and it's the same thing. It's this burden and pressure and this gift and this like beautiful responsibility that you have to like get your message out to the world. And those are big. And sometimes they just cause tears because you want all of these things, and because of whatever factors, things don't ever happen fast enough, and it's frustrating. And, you know, and then you have like that moment where you're like, fuck it, I'm not doing this anymore. And I'm like, a client will email you and be like, you changed my life. And you're like, okay, I'm in, I'm back, you know, like, right? just how we're laughing because they all know what I'm talking about. Right?
Yeah.
It's true.
Totally true.
It's true. And so if you can just surrender, I think, to the fact that that's happening,
and surround yourself with other people too, because when everyone else is projecting that everything is perfect, it's then you feel like there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say something that, like, for me was an expectation versus reality. Is you see the people out there who brag of, like, oh, like, make a laptop lifestyle and then you travel all the time or you can watch TV. But what I've noticed for me personally, and you've probably noticed it too, is like when you then all of a sudden have that like free time where you go to the cottage, one, your brain automatically like works even harder and all the ideas come to you at that point.
Yeah.
But then you also know, especially when you get good at sales, you're like, why would I watch TV when I can make $3,000 right now? And so the free time, like I self-impose that, like I go to the cottage and like my boyfriend's parents are like, why do you have your laptop? I'm like, why wouldn't I? I'm sitting on the dock doing nothing. I might as well write a blog or like an email or like a whatever and make a sales call, and I'll go up to the loft, do a sales call, come downstairs and be like, I just made $1,000. And they're like, wait, what? Like you're on vacation. I'm like, yeah, I am. So it's like that expectation of like all this time freedom, but then you choose to like fill it with more work because it's amazing and like it's empowering to like make that money and help people.
But also, can I counter that for a second too? Because those times are amazing. Like whenever I make a sale still, I like text my husband, I'm like, sale. He's like, yeah, baby, you go. But then you have a day where you don't have a sale and you're like, I quit. That's it.
Yeah.
This business sucks. I'm not doing it anymore.
I worked 14 hours today.
That's right. I killed myself all day. I've talked to this many people. I mean, it is like this, and you have to learn to ride that wave and to have faith in what you're doing. And I remember you saying that your success in your own mind should be based on, are you doing the work to be successful? Not on how many sales did I make today or this month or whatever, but are you actually doing the work?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Hannah, what about you? Like in terms of, you came from, right? Like you had a background, you had already worked. So what was that like for you?
I didn't tell anyone. So what I did, I dipped my toe in because it was going to be a really tough transition. Yeah. And like, I mean, I have friends who are all RDs and they're like, you're going online. And then, the next question is, well, what are you selling? Like, are you selling a supplement? Are you selling like, it's like this weird division. And so, I don't know, it was the lifestyle that you want, the life that you want and this vision that you have for yourself, even though it may seem crazy to other people or really out of your lane. If you feel like you're out of your lane, then it might be like something you need to look into, because that's a spark in you that's going to kind of keep you going, especially when it gets hard. But like in my world or in my Instagram feed and Facebook, there was none of that. I didn't get ads for have your dream life. It was like really low insurance rates. So this was like finding, I don't even know how I found this, but I was like, what? And it was just impressive in its own.
Good Facebook ad targeting.
Pretty good. But I think that if you can just kind of know what you want and have this, the one thing that always got me a lot was build the life that you want and the business of your dreams on your own terms. Mm-hmm. And, when you're in the clinic and you're working underneath someone, it's never on your own terms. And the world is telling me that I can't do those things on my own terms. And it's saying that I have to keep working and I have to shift work until 6 p.m. And so in a different way, there's like the dream that people kind of broadcast to you. And then there's the world that you live in. And so they're so different, but there is the happy medium. You just have to find that place, right? Does that kind of make sense what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Or what you want for you. It gives you choices, right? You get choices. That's the best thing to me about having my own business. And sometimes I choose to work 14 hours a day. Yeah. And sometimes I choose to have a bath and a nap instead. And and in the summer, I don't work much at all because I still have kids that are small and those summers are really limited. But I have choices. I always have freedom.
Yeah. What were some of the things that kept you from gaining momentum? So like whether you you know, hit the ground running and then stalled, or, you know, had a really hard time sort of gaining momentum? What were some of the things that you think, in your mind, whether it was your mind or actual like strategies and tactics, that now that you've gotten sort of past that, you can see it for what it was? Victoria, what about you?
Yeah, it was both.
Okay.
So mindset is huge. You know, you're always battling with yourself and with your capabilities. And as you grow, more mindset shifts need to happen. And that to me was really eye-opening to like even listen to Lori and be like, you need to like know your worth. You need to charge more. You need to put yourself out there, like things that you just, you don't know until you start getting into it. And so there's a lot of mindset shifts that needed to happen. And then the structure, I got to a point in my business where everybody I knew and all of their friends had bought my program. And I was like, okay, what do I do now? And at that time I was like, okay, I'm getting all these email funnels from other people and I'm looking through them, trying to decipher what to do and how I can like use Facebook ads or whatever they were doing to reach more people. And at that exact point in time, Lori like pinged up and was like, hey, I have a solution for you. And I was like, one, how did you know I had that problem? and honestly, that question was what made me like more intrigued in what she had to offer. Because I was like, okay, if I have this problem, and she knew exactly where I was at in my business, that I was already completely wrung out of clients, and she's hitting every single pain point I have in every single email. I want to learn how to do what she's doing, but for my clients. Mm-hmm. And that was the turning point for me. That was why I invested without a question. I didn't care how much it cost. I said, teach me what you're doing to me, because I want to be able to do that to other people.
Yeah, that's amazing. Alicia, what about you?
Yeah, lack of knowledge, like lack of knowing what to do. And especially in ND, this is unheard of. Like online businesses are unheard of. Running your own programs, things like this. Is sales and marketing unheard of. Like it's very, very limited. When you talk to an ND, they're like, what? Social media sometimes?
When you tell NDs what your monthly revenue is, what do they do? What do they say?
What?
They're like, a month or a year?
Yeah.
2 years?
Yeah. So for me, it was the lack of knowledge. And I was in clinic and had just like this idea that I wanted to do something. So I'd go see a patient where I was working under someone else, run upstairs and make a lead magnet. Like, I don't even know what it was. It's like five ways to drink more water, something stupid, right? And so then I'd run down, see another patient, and come back up and continue with this lead magnet. So I didn't know what I needed to do next. I just had this vision in my head. No one in my world was doing it. I'd never seen it. I wasn't targeted with Facebook ads. I just had this idea on building time freedom, money freedom, location freedom. I didn't want that naturopathic model. Like, I thought there's something so much better than one, splitting your income with someone. Like a 60-40 split is like, what?
Been there.
So yeah, I knew that there had to be a better way to do that. I just was missing the pieces on how to get it in place. I could see it in my head, but I didn't know how to get there.
And so what happened to you once you got them in place?
As in my results?
Yes.
Well, my business does quite well.
That's an understatement.
Revenue-wise, we brought in about $32K in December. This month, we're looking towards a $40K month.
Yes.
Being able to build a team, being able to pay off student loans, being able to retire my partner, who now, unfortunately, works for me. Unpaid, but lots of love. So just given me complete freedom to do anything I want, go on vacations, like have a cool wedding, like anything that I wanted to do, I just can do it in a second.
I just want you to repeat how much money you made in December, because I think that a lot of people are like, oh, I do weight loss and it's December. Yeah. And so what was that number again?
$32,000 in December when I worked 2 weeks.
Woo!
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. We can start Amazing. All right. Does anyone else want to share about that? Like about sort of the thing that held them back
Yeah, I think for me, it was like staying too surface level. And so like, I knew I had a niche. So then I don't want to use the word cocky, but I was almost like, I have a niche. So like, obviously I know what I'm doing, but I wasn't getting deep enough and hitting actual emotional pain points. And then my rebuttal to that was like, athletes aren't emotional, which is totally bullshit. So, I made money, I had some sales and I was working with clients, but it wasn't until I went even deeper into it, and Laura and Lori are both laughing at me.
Fight with her. Fight. We're like, you don't have, yes. They're like, no. She's like, no.
They don't have emotions. They don't have emotions, but they totally do. And so once I actually got deeper, and I'm still like, even this morning in my hotel room, I was like, again, like listening to stuff that Lori puts out in podcasts and like going, I just thought of a whole another like emotional pain point, and like opened up this spreadsheet I have and like added it in. So it was really like diving deeper into it and connecting with my ideal client on a much deeper emotional level. That's when I started to see more downloads, like more lead magnet downloads. My Facebook group has like tripled, and people emailing me back, like people actually respond and engage with my posts and my emails, and they want to talk to me. And when I go to races, like they come up to me and they're like, oh my God, I love your post on Facebook. And like, can we take a selfie together? Cause you're the OCR nutrition coach. And like, that's super amazing. And like my sales have tripled. So it's awesome.
That's amazing. Anyone else want to say about what held them back?
For me, a lot of it was, well, like the perfectionism, which I think is, I mean, it's a little bit of armor, I think, that people put up sometimes, but I didn't realize it at the time. But I graduated from nutrition school, and like legit, this is not a joke. I was like, I have to go back to school to be a graphic designer now so that I can be a nutritionist online, right?
Yeah.
Making all my lead magnets in Photoshop and things like that. And I had like some measure of success really right off the bat with clinical practice and seeing clients one-on-one. And I think like from the outside, I seem to be doing really well. I don't really want to think about what I was making on an hourly basis, but I didn't have another job. Like a lot of people, I just did it. And then I ended up just creating like this job for myself. Like I didn't have a business really. I had a job that I didn't really like that much. Like I realized I don't want to be seeing clients like literally all day, every day. And also, how am I going to grow?
Right.
Because I'm doing all these protocols and all this one-on-one and all of this client facing stuff so that I can pay the rent in my clinic. And like, how do I move past this now when I have this, like, well, now I have a practice, like,
right.
But how do I get to the next level from here? Like I actually couldn't that way.
And I think it's so interesting because I think there's two really big stick points. It's when you first get off the ground. Like I remember when you first did your webinar and like you too, and like you started like and like going forward and like, you're like, holy shit, this works. Like, oh my God, like people are paying me. And even in 10K now, when like our clients make their first sale and they like put it with like some type of crazy gift or emotion, they're like, oh my God, this works. I'm like, obviously. Like, how are you still like not bought into like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it does.
Didn't you pay me so this would work? Right? Like, why are you surprised?
It works. It's like, it does, yes. But
there are so many things out there that don't work.
I know.
People are selling you things that don't work.
I know.
And so that is part of it, is that I thought it's safer to do it on my own.
Right.
And so, and I was getting nowhere, but I still felt very safe about it.
Right.
So it was very scary to put that in somebody else's hands.
Yeah. And you know what? We get that all the time. And even, either trying it on their own or people investing in other programs or coaches that are maybe great, but not within health and wellness. And so it doesn't translate, which is shitty because you don't know that when you first enroll with the person. But there really is like two, I would say like main stick points. It's making that first sale and making the first $10,000, the first $50,000, whatever it is, first $100,000, first $1 million, whatever that is. And then also getting to that place where you're like, I don't know how to grow from here. Right. And I would think, and this happened to me, like that was actually more scary for me because I could see that there was so, like now you're bought in, like you're all in and you're like, okay, I'm good. I'm like making the money. I know how to do this. How do I now expand it without dying? Right? Like how do I grow? And that's my constraint. Like always, how do I double without dying? Right? And so I think there's always that, whether you're just starting and you have zero email list, zero Facebook, and you're thinking, how do I make the first $1,000? The next thought is, how do I double this without dying? Right? So that I can maintain my quality of life. Do you guys want to just share a little bit about what that first experience, like making sales was, or hitting, you know, a very important goal, or you hitting a very important goal? Like, what was the goal? What was that experience like for you guys? So Hannah, what about you?
The goal for me was to have something that I would be so proud of that I could show any one of my colleagues, or I could have something that like a family member could come into and be like, oh, this is like a real thing. Oh, okay. Do you know what like something I could be so proud of? And so, you know, even in the beginning when you're just getting through your program, and I remember being so happy that I was done with the program and it was all together, and you go through all these action steps and you're trying to get people, you're trying to, you know, think about being the person, and that was amazing. And then it's like, there's the next thing. And then there's the next thing, and then there's the next thing, but taking it one step at a time. And so you kind of ease yourself into these goals. And so sometimes maybe hearing about our success at this level, you know, sometimes the success is just, you know, showing up that morning and writing the email.
Yeah.
So for me, sometimes it's just like, I got the email out. Okay, we're cool. We're cool. I want to stay in the black. I don't want my husband to finance my business in any way, shape, or form. It's really important to me. Nobody expects me to make any money because of what my husband does. And so there's kind of this chip on my shoulder. Even my mom was like, well, sweetie, you should just volunteer now. And I know. And I was like, oh, okay. No, I don't think so. So success looks different at whatever I think stage you're at, but I remember being very excited. I don't know. I remember being very excited about getting the program done and having something I could be so proud of, that knowing that I could move forward, bringing that into the world. Like I could do marketing, I could do sales behind this. I could do it because I loved my baby.
Yeah, I love that. Victoria, what about you?
Yeah, for me, the biggest thing was recognizing that the steps work. Like, I remember when you did that September challenge.
Yeah.
It was like, the summer was really rough for me. I just finished like my big launch, and I was like, okay, what do I do now? And Lori was like, you keep doing what you've been doing. And I was like, oh, that's it? Like, yes. And so like doing that, I was like, oh, it really does work when you work, and it doesn't when you don't. And so all you have to do is do the work, and then you see the results. So now I'm 1 year. I did the 10K a year ago. A year ago, January, I signed up. And a year ago, January, I was like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do, how I'm supposed to get there. Now I'm here where everything has a place. It's all running. It's functioning well. And I know exactly what I need to do to get to where I want to go. So like, I'm not where I want to go right now, but I have like a very clear, defined path of what that looks like and how to do it. So to me, that was like, you just do it. And once you have the formula for success, all you have to do is plug and chug. Yeah, like it's very straightforward.
It sounded so dirty.
Oh, like really? And get it done, and you make
We won't use that in the Facebook ads.
And it alleviates the stress and anxiety when you know that there's a system to follow and you know exactly what to do next and do next. And I mean, I remember being like strung out and exhausted launching my $97 program, right? And I'm launching right now, and I'm like, it's cool.
Every time I made a sale, I had to take a nap. When I first started, I was like, okay, I made a sale. Yeah. Good night.
But now it kind of runs itself, sort of like, you know, because I know I have a plan. Exactly. Right. And it's all the hard work. That's always hard work. All the big pieces to be created are done. And I know next. And I know that it works. I have metrics, right? I know if I do this, I get this result. And now launching is like, it's almost like a break, because like the pre-launch is you got to show up a lot.
Yeah, the pre-launch.
And
we actually always felt like that too.
I'm like, am I forgetting something?
We're like, always. It's like a little panic because all the work is done ahead of time.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, something is wrong.
Yeah.
Something is wrong here. The money's it's just coming, and it's like you're like, oh right, but I just busted my ass for 6 weeks, 2 months prior. Alicia, what about you?
My goals?
Yeah.
So I'm a big goal person, like love goals. And I always work backwards. Like, what do I want to make and what do I have to do to get there? think my first goal was making 10K a month, and that wasn't my goal. That was what she told me I should be making. I was like, I'm gonna make 10K a month, which was to pay off my student loan. Like I had $120,000 in debt. That sucker was gonna be gone. So that was my first big goal. And then hitting that 20K mark, that was like a huge one to double in like 4 months, going from 10K a month to 20K a month. And now the big goal is 50K a month. And it all comes down to numbers, like what has been working for the last year. Like I've been doing the same thing for 20 months now, the exact same thing that she told me to do. I don't change it, I don't touch it, like we just do it. And then we work backwards on, okay, want to make this much, what do I need to do? So it's been a big numbers game, and yeah, just pick a goal and work backwards.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, especially when you're first starting, because this isn't so taught, and I keep using the word paradigm shift because it is, right? It's hard to conceptualize the fact that within, 5+1 pieces, 6 months later, you have this thing that is functioning. And then, yes, I'm making it sound simplistic, and I don't want to make it sound like, oh, you just have to do these 5 things and like, oh, well, no, that's not how it is, but it is kind of, right? Like the foundation and the framework is there, and then it does take time to finesse your messaging, especially if you have zero experience. Like if you're walking into this green and you've never had a client and you've never spoken about your thing before, it does take time to be able to finesse your message and to be able to feel confident speaking about it and, feeling confident in that you can actually help people. So you're good to charge what you're going to charge for it. And that does take time. But I think the difference is, and what's so hard for people to understand is the organization of it, right? Like is the whole system of it and the process of it, and that once it's built, and then your attention turns to then like just this front facing marketing and sales, right? And then working with the clients. And I think for a lot of people that's really hard to understand because they don't have that frame of reference at all, right? So what do you guys think has been your biggest I would say shift in what you now believe is possible for you, given where you're at, the money that you're making? You're all making different levels of revenue in your business. But what do you think is the biggest shift now versus, let's say, like before you started 10K, or when you were working like before that, or when you just started? Victoria, what do you think yours is?